On this episode, I travel to the other side of the world in the UK, picking the brain of one of the most intelligent health practitioners I've ever had the pleasure of conversing with. My guest is Claud, and not only is he an exceptional practitioner, but he's also a noteworthy fashionista. Raised in a military home, Claud initially adhered to structure and defined guidance. However, these gradually evolved into mere suggestions as he became more captivated by the whys of our lives. His latest why stemmed from the loss of his father, prompting him to discover a new balance in life through increased patience and focusing on crafting one's best self to enjoy the present. We also talk about tattoos, the essence of genuine health, and the breakfast taco. Let's jump in. Hey, everybody. Welcome to a Moderately Good podcast. Super excited for my guest today. But before I get started, regular shout outs. So Joe Andrade Media does all my cool pictures, makes it look cool online. Jason at Wish Pocket, that's on Instagram. He does all my audio. That's why when, we're traveling overseas to the UK, everything sounds awesome. My guy, Jaron, he has No Names Originals. Please support local North Carolina artists. And he does really cool stuff, bleaches clothes. He's into the bleaching and painting and stuff like that. My guy, Mo, he has the Go Bubble app. That is the car detailing service to your home. And if you use the promo code Go Moderately, you get a discount. Lone Star Decor. That's a tongue twister. That's my guy Peyton. He has all this cool Aztec art, and he does it on wood and stuff. You got to check it out. And then last but not least, one of my best sponsors and the guy that provides all the food and beverage for this joint, even though Claude's not going to need it because he's in the UK, is Shiner Saloon. David Cupcake, thank you for doing all this for me. Really appreciate it. So everyone, this is my new friend Claude. I stalked him on social media and asked him if he would do this. Claude, say what's up.
What's up, guys?
So go ahead and give all your credentials, where people can find you and what exactly that you do is wrapped up as you can.
Yeah, sure. So, my name's Claud Serjeant. I'm on Instagram. So it's my name, ClaudSerjeant. On Instagram. That's about it, really. I mean, I'm not on Facebook anymore, but anyway, that's another story. My credentials, I've got a few of them, but I like to call myself a diagnostic practitioner. So I do orthopedic assessments, I do lifestyle changes, and I do hormone diagnostics as well. So thyroid, adrenals, liver, things like that. And I'm based in the UK.
Nice.
Oh, and my website.
Yeah.
www.claudserjeant.com.
Awesome.
Sorry, dude.
No. I can also write this and all the stuff. So it's the old internets. Okay. So when I ask you to do this, I send people a form to fill out. And one of the things you put on there that you what was that, things you're passionate about or whatever. One of them was fashion.
Gotta love fashion, man.
And I was like, dude, this guy, he is speaking all my things. He wants to talk about health and he wants to talk about fashion. So let's open up with a little fashion. Obviously, you fashioned up for me today. Got the nice prints going, right?
That's it, man. I wore this for you, man.
So how would you describe your fashion sense or the way you dress or what you like about fashion?
I think fashion is just an expression of your personality, isn't it? And about who you are. And I just like being sort of colorful. I like putting things together. And I might have explained before, I'm a bit OCD. So I like looking good. I like being symmetrical, matching colors and things like that. And I've always been into art, like drawing and things like that. So I suppose, why not draw on yourself? I've got tattoos like you have. So it's like an expression, of self again. My mother, she was always very fashionable. My mother's Korean. She was always into bright colors and stuff. And I guess I got it from her, really. which is kind of funny because my father was a military man. So he was always very sort of prim and proper in terms of the way he dressed. And I was always sort of swayed towards a bit more the wild, funky stuff. You know,
It,
my friends, my guy friends still think they're waiting for me to come out of the closet, but sorry, dudes, it's not going to happen. This is just who I am.
well, I have had similar conversations. I dress pretty odd and quirky, but
Love it.
I don't know. I think it, like you said, it's a self expression and it's like fun, you know.
Yeah, man.
And you're here, so you might as well like you might as well like enjoy it in some fashion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
It's like,
are you mainly like a fashion guy? Are you like you sneakers? Do you a sneaker guy at all?
yeah, I mean, I'm not really into a particular type of sneaker or a particular type of clothing. I'm just like, if I like it, if it looks good on me, and if it's, this and that, I'll get it. I know like our kids are massively into all the Nike Air shoes and the Air Jordans and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay, but it's not my bag, but it doesn't mean I don't like it,
Sure,
you know?
sure. How do your kids feel about the way you dress?
Yeah. I mean, our youngest sometimes is like, are you really wearing that out? So, but I also think it's good for them to be immersed in something different as opposed to, just wearing the usual, I don't know, jeans and t-shirt. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's just nice for them to see something different, and it's just me as well. So, the world's very diverse today. So,
You said, or your dad passed away recently, right?
yeah. Well,
Well,
I mean, 2013.
but I mean, but still, I mean, like it's recent. It's recent enough. You've experienced it, right? How did
Yeah.
you said he was military. How did he feel about your fashion sense?
I don't, well, that's the thing, because he's military. He was very, what's the word? He was very quiet. He never really said much. But I mean, I suppose you would know that he was really angry just by the way he'd look at you, or if he'd say one particular word. So he's a man of few words. But yeah, I know my brother, used to think, going out with you, Claude, is so embarrassing sometimes with the stuff that you wear and stuff. And I'm just like, man, just just quit it.
Do you find that sometimes like your fashion is like an extension of your personality, of like who you are, like your
Yeah,
tattoos?
yeah, yeah,
Because
100%. Yeah,
that's how I feel about it. I feel about like that. It's like not only am I doing the tattoo thing, but I'm also doing the crazy clothes thing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah,
but it's
yeah.
just and it weirdly it draw like let me ask you this. Do your tattoos draw people in? Do they come up and talk to you about your tattoos or yeah?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
And so when I got my tattoos, I don't know what I expected, but that wasn't the things on the list of like when you're getting tattoos of what's going to happen to you afterwards. Like people coming up to you all the time wasn't one of the things I was either even thinking about or looking forward to. And it's the same
yeah,
way with kind of clothes, but I recently started viewing it as like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to have a, because I have the tattoos or because I wear funky clothes, it's an opportunity for me to have a good experience with another human being that might not have happened if I wasn't dressed or looked like this.
yeah. I agree. Absolutely agree. It's almost like a conversation in silence. Yeah, I mean, if you know what I mean, you're speaking, aren't you, to people, right? You're communicating in what you're wearing or what they can visibly see. But I'm sure, like your tattoos, you got a lot of stories on your arms and stuff, right? And there's always something behind the tattoo that you get, right?
Well, I mean, okay,
Never know.
do you have any like dumb tattoos?
You know what? I don't, because I drew every single tattoo that I have on my body
No way.
because yeah, just because I like to be original and I like to be different. So this whole sleeve goes up to my shoulder, but it's all about my South Korean heritage. You can see the flag right there, the national bird and stuff. But I drew it all on like was it A3, A4, and I went to the guy and said, "Dude, can you put this on my arm?" He goes, "Yeah, sure." He tweaks it obviously to sort of tattoo style or whatever. I mean, you know what it's about. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's just
Um,
it's really impressive just because you must have some concept of art because like the way you lay a tattoo out around an arm and stuff like that, it takes a little bit more than just knowing how to just draw something on a piece of paper. And like,
Yeah.
the dude's going to tattoo your own artwork on you. So you want it to be good.
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah. But yeah, so what I generally do as well is if I like a tattoo or an idea, I'll draw it on a part of my body that I think or where I want the tattoo. And I'll draw on it every single night for 2 weeks. I know it sounds so stupid, but again, this might be my OCD, right? And then if I shower it off and stuff, the next day I do the same thing. I look in the mirror. At the end of the 2 weeks, I'm like, I still love it. Let's go get the tattoo. So that's what I do. Because tattoos are life for life, right?
Well, yeah, but while ago when I was like, "Hey, do you have any dumb tattoos?" and you were like, "No." Well, I mean, I do, and so it's kind of like, well, how much does it really mean? Like, but you made me when you said like you draw it on you for 2 weeks before you go get it. I was thinking about like when I first started getting tattoos like down my arms, right? Like, but where it started kind of come out of my sleeves, and now like every time you raise your arm, you see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
beginning, it's weird. Like, because you're used to your arm being blank and then you're like, oh, there's something on there. Oh, there's something on, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, but like when you do it, you're like warming up to it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and do this for 2 weeks. Yeah. Yeah. I'm used to it being on there. Let's just like go ahead and do it. It's the way smarter move, I would think. Probably because if most people did that within the span of about a week, they'd be like, nah, I shouldn't get that, or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, also, I don't know, like in America, but over here, so I've got a couple of hand tattoos and stuff, right?
I got these numbers here.
Oh, nice. So over here, I don't know, if I go to a coffee store or something, you get a coffee and the guy's serving me or the girl serving me, they'll look at my hands and they'll say, it's always the same conversation, nice hand tattoos. And then secondary to that, they say, what do you do? What's your job?
Mm-hmm.
And then I tell them, and then we talk about, because a lot of jobs today won't accept you with hand tattoos, right? You got to have tattoos, maybe up to there. So if you're wearing a long sleeve shirt, it doesn't look like you got ink or anything.
Well,
So there's.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that it's still a bit of a sort of taboo subject, isn't it, or whatever, around tattoos and jobs and gangs and this and that. But
well, in America, like when you tattoo like your hands, your neck, or your face, they'll call those job killers, right? Because like nobody want to hire you. But like, like here in Austin, like, I mean, I'm nobody here in Austin. Nobody care. Everybody seems to have tattoos in Austin, but if I go somewhere like on the East Coast and stuff like that, like, it's not, or if you go overseas, like, it just not as many people are as heavily tattooed. And then now I'm the weirdo, you know what I
mean? Yeah, you're the oddball, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Okay, well, let me ask you this before. Have you ever been to the United States?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, I have no idea. I just got back from Hungary, and one of my clients lives there. He's actually my mentor, and he was with a friend. And I go, well, hey, have you ever been to the U.S.? And the guy was like, no. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought that like people travel to the U.S. all the time. So, here's, if you were here actually in Austin, Texas, you would be in my home and we would have steak and asparagus and we would, you know what I mean? And we'd hang out and eat before we do this whole thing, but you don't get that real, you're going to have to come to the United States to get that royal treatment. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You know what? Next year, man, I'm turning 50. So I'm going to try and take my whole family to LA. I mean, I know Texas is a bit of a distance, but
But well, I mean, it is, but I do have friends in California and could easily meet you out there and do something, and that would be super dope.
Yeah, man, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
So wait, Scotty. So what do you do? What is your job?
I started. I currently do still train clients and have been a personal trainer. And as I've grown, I'm 47. And so as I've grown my career, the lack of care that trainers have for their clients and when to tell them no and when to fire a client, when knowing that it's not good for you and it's not good for them or whatever else it is, all that shit burns me up inside. Right.
Yeah.
Because it's not good for the person just in their general life. Right. my strength as a trainer didn't come from necessarily all the technical skills. And so who I am as a person caters to that. That's not for everybody. And people that are maybe more motivated don't find training with me very fun or interesting.
Okay, but that's the thing. That's your niche. Everyone is different, right?
Right. And so like I had to learn how to fire clients that were bad for me or whatever. And so anyway, so
Yeah.
that transitioned to me into doing more of like becoming like a functional aging specialist. Right. So
Okay.
basically like how do you have you ever had a client die before?
No.
Okay, so I've had a client die, like of old age, not like of like something bad.
I know while you were training them then.
No, 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 and not yeah, not while I was training them. Yeah, yeah, but just of old age, right? And so what
Sure,
I
sure.
noticed is with him, it wasn't his physical stuff that he couldn't handle. His mind got like so bad that
Yeah,
he just didn't even want to be here anymore, right?
right.
And so I realized that functional aging is not it's not just your body. More than likely your body will fail you before your mind. And then once you like
Mm.
lose your like, what or sorry, your mind will fail you kind of before your body if you take care of it. But then once you lose your
Yeah.
mind, your body's like, well, what's the point of me staying around?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. That's right.
And so,
Yeah, that's what happened.
yeah,
I experienced it firsthand. He got dementia.
your dad.
Fuck, man. Yeah, it's the worst thing. So, he lost all his marbles. He became catatonic. He couldn't even talk. I had to bathe him, and then we put him in a home because it was too much. I had to work. It's too much on my mom. She's old as well and stuff. And then, he just everything just failed. It's just horrible. Yeah. I mean, my mom and I used to say, look, I'd rather his arms and legs fell off, but he could say, things like I'm hungry or I'm cold or, but there was none of that. Yeah, it's just awful, isn't it? When the mind goes, the mental attitude goes, that's it.
How did you remain like present and like graceful and appreciative during that time when he was so it was is frustrating a fair word to use?
Yeah, frustrating. Yeah, I mean, fuck. I mean, yeah, it's frustrating to the hilt, because he degraded pretty quickly, right? And literally he became like this shell. And you being a guy, me being a guy, we needed a father figure, right? And I'm sure you're the same, but I always saw my parents as like, ultimate, nothing can touch them. There, put them on a pedestal, they're like gods or whatever and stuff. And then when he got sick, and then physically sick, and then mentally sick, all that stuff, it was very frustrating, like you said. And I found myself getting really angry at the world, and I didn't, I said, there's no fucking God out there, that I don't believe anything. And then I started thinking, actually, no, this could be a lesson for myself, right? Because I was in the midst of studying as well. I mean, I'm always studying, but I always want to better myself. And then I saw my dad like this. So that pushed me further, right? And I said, okay, so there is no God, there is no whatever it is. So I am my own God, right? And I've got to make sure that I can maintain my own health, my own perspective on life, to keep a whole balance and to help other people acknowledge how important health is before, all your threads, and before, like, I don't know, getting a Ferrari and all that stuff. If you got no health, you don't have anything at all. And I think in those few years that he was like that and he degraded, I grew up a hell of a lot. And I think I matured pretty quickly and stuff, and which is why I'm also so fucking black and white about health. I mean, I used to work with, a few practitioners and stuff, and one thing that really pisses me off is that, they preach all this stuff about health. Oh yeah, you got to do this and stop eating gluten and stuff and make sure you stretch, and they don't fucking do it themselves. And I really dislike people like that, because you're creating misinformation for everyone. And it's like social media. I'm not a big fan of social media, because a lot of the people that look for health, right, they look at the guy with the big muscles and the big six pack, and he can deadlift this much and do 50 pull-ups. and he's eating this big tub of protein and take these, bars and all that stuff. But people don't understand actually how physiology works. It's just like, wow, if he takes that, he looks like that, he must be smart. And that's so fucking dangerous. And I presented in so many gyms, and I presented with doctors and nutritionists about, food and health and cancer and stuff like that. And it's like, I end up getting really frustrated. I had a fight, I mean, not a physical fight, but a verbal fight with a nutritionist on the NHS, which is the National Health Service in the UK, right? So it's like if you see a doctor for, I don't know, a liver pathology, they'll say, well, go see a dietitian after you do this and stuff, and she'll tell you what to eat. And when she was speaking, she was talking about food, and I hate it when people categorize food just as, this is protein, this is fat, this is carbohydrate, you got to balance them all, and you'll be happy and healthy. I mean, that's the biggest load of bullshit, because look at everyone today. Cancers are like rife, aren't they? And you're 47 and I'm 49, right? So, I mean, when we were kids, you hardly heard of anyone having cancer, right? And if your parents said, "Oh, my friend's got cancer," you'd be like, "Oh my God, that's like so fucking rare, isn't it?" But now it's like every Tom, Dick, and Harry has cancer, and he's on this pill, and that guy's on that liver disease, and he takes kidney pills and this and that. And I'm like, it's just crazy. So the nutritionist, she was saying, it's, you just get handed that number if you have cancer. It's just really unfortunate. And I fucking blew my top. We had a room full of like, 40, 50 people, all interested in nutrition and health. And, there's some trainers and therapists and doctors and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, fucking, that's bullshit. That's the biggest load of crap you can say, because I mean, I don't know if you want to Google this, Scotty, but in the UK, the National Health Service uses this thing called the Eat Well plate. I think it's called the Eat Well plate, but it's apparently what everyone should follow. And it has percentages of, what you should eat, like carbohydrates, bread and grains and nuts. And then you have dairy and then all this shit. And believe it or not, fucking 8% of this Eat Well plate is you're allowed to drink Coca-Cola, Mars bars, all that shit. I'm like, what? But that's what I mean. Who comes up with that shit? So, for example, Scotty, if we go out, right, what's your favorite meal?
Like a splurge type of, like, I can eat anything I want type of meal.
Whatever, yeah. Just forget about health. Go for taste.
Okay, man, I'm a big pizza person.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. I love pizza as well, right? So if we go out for pizza, you might finish your pizza and say, fuck, I feel great. I'm energized and ready to rock and roll. And if I eat it, I might be like, shit, I need a fucking nap. And what's your ethnic heritage? You're American?
Yes.
I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm half Korean, half English, right? So if you think of ethnicity, right, and like, how our bodies are put together, pizza is ultimately, it's been in the American diet for quite a while. But if I've been living in, I don't know, buttfuck Korea somewhere, and then I come over and eat with you, do you know what I mean?
Right.
It doesn't make sense, does it?
Well, so like, I always recommend to my clients, like when we get started, to go get blood tested for like food allergies. Like that's one of the first thing that I do, right?
Dude, you're amazing. You're doing your clients a big fucking service.
So but the only reason that I did that is because I ended up doing it for myself. And so you were talking about the pizza scenario. If we went and ate pizza and I had that much dairy because I have a high allergic to dairy, like I would be sick to my stomach and crap in my pants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like the fact that I just avoiding the foods that cause me inflammation and all that stuff, just that brought down all the inflammation out of my body, allows me to move better. I feel better. And so that means that like, if you give me this plate, you go, you can eat this and this, but dairy is one of those things like that doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Yeah. But how many people actually know that? And how many people like yourself have the foresight to say, well, actually, maybe I should be tested for that, instead of sort of like, oh, fuck it, just give me it. I'll feel like shit. Who cares? And I'll have diarrhea. And
well, here's my favorite thing. My favorite thing is I'll go, man, I'm allergic to dairy and eggs. Right.
Okay.
And then the person will go, well, man, like I've never had a bad reaction to eggs. And I go, you don't know that you're having a bad reaction until you have a good reaction from not having eggs.
Yes, dude, man. Yeah, 100%.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because like I remember like every morning I would have breakfast tacos, right? And every morning I would,
What's a breakfast
oh,
taco?
well, I love that you don't know what a breakfast taco is. This is awesome. So think about like a tortilla. You know what tortilla is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You mean a Mexican taco?
Yeah, but like you'd put like eggs. It's like you eat it at breakfast like a taquito, like they put eggs and stuff in it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Geez, man, that sounds good. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like when you go to when you go to California, I mean, there'll they'll have like probably breakfast burritos and tacos. You'll have plenty of that.
Yeah.
But I was eating them every morning at this place, like down from the gym I was working at, and I was literally kind of crapping my pants every morning, like just having really poor bowel movements. And
Yeah. Yeah.
when I stopped eating eggs and stuff, like I was like, oh man, like I can actually go to the bathroom normal and my butt doesn't hurt and all that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but okay.
Yes.
No,
Wasting all your
that's great. No, that's great. Back to the back. So I was saying like my skills. So specific, I just want you to do this one specifically for me. So you were talking about the issues of why trainers should be more mindful of back exercises, right? And
yeah.
I would assume that on some level, like, do you feel like our posterior chain is as important, if not more important, than the interior chain?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I want you to go through your back rant that you did on Instagram, but break it down a little bit smaller for people that don't know quite what the big words you're using are.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Right. So, for example, you got to think about the lifestyle and the generation that we're in, right? So if you think of these guys, right? Mobile phones, iPads, computers, and stuff like that, we're generally walking around with them in our hands looking down. Yeah. So that's, like you said, the flexor chain. So everything that flexes the body or brings it forward in front of gravity. So, you have the flexors in the neck, and then you have the chest that can pull shoulders forwards and down. Then you have the famous abdominals or the six pack, and they flex the spine. They pull everything down towards the floor, right? And also the flexors in the hip, right? So it can compress the spine. So when we walk around like that, and even when we get home, we sit down, we go on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is, right? So if we're on that 24/7 pretty much, we are training the flexor chain or the anterior chain or the muscles all on the front of the body, let's say, right? We are training them to shorten, right? So if you think in my head and my feet, let's say A and B get closer together, right? And then the guys on the back, all the muscles on the back, you could say, they get stretched because, again, A and B on the back of the body, they get further away from each other, right? And you have a lot of muscles on the back, and you have very important ligaments all the way from the neck all the way down to the feet, and they can get stretched, right? And if you want to go into the osteopathic model, or clinically, they call it ligamentous creeping. So the ligaments, they creep, right? But once they creep or once they stretch, because they don't have a big blood supply, they don't respond or repair quick enough. So they stay in that position, right? And ligaments are part of, how do I say this? Part of the system that stabilizes the body or keeps the spine in check. So once you've lost that, you got to make sure the muscles are all balanced out and everything to support the spine, right? And then if you think about the spine, fuck, that's a big bottle of water, man.
Oh, sorry. So like I have it's like a Kagan water machine. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
like this is my water I drink for the day. This is my daily water. Yeah.
Right. Wow, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Pretty cool.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was trying to sneak it in there.
No, that's cool, man. So there's an imbalance in the body, right? But what people don't know, I'll add this in, right, is that all your organs, so your kidneys, your liver, your diaphragm, your spleen, your stomach, intestines, colon, all that, they have small spaces in between, right? And they're held up by ligaments, right? They're called visceral ligaments, or, organ ligaments. And so these guys start hitting one another or compressing each other, right? They pile on top of each other. And if you think of an organ, it needs to expand and compress to secrete whatever it has to secrete, right? Enzymes, hormones, whatever it is, right? So when these fucking things, when they pile on top of each other, it's like strangling something, right? So you inhibit or you stop the flow, right? So when you see, sometimes I see these people, they come into my office and they say, my shoulder's really been killing me. I've seen a physio, I've seen a massage therapist, they rub it, they've taped it up, they give me, postural exercise, nothing works. And I was like, okay, well, tell me about your pancreas, or depending on the shoulder, or tell me about your liver. And they look at me. I'll never forget this guy. He's an Indian guy, right? And he said, yeah, I've got pancreatic cancer. And it's related to the same shoulder, right? Because his posture is so bad. I mean, this would be it wouldn't be the etiology, but it'd be something that's enhancing his pancreatic, irritability, whatever you want to say, right? So when the posture drops, like I said, all these organs hit each other and they can't function properly, and then a whole host of muscular issues is the outcome, right? So when organs are irritable, they manifest themselves into the muscular system because they can't give you an issue that the doctor will recognize. So for example, if you have pancreatitis, you can't break down foods, you can't release insulin and stuff like that, right? But you see a doctor and they just give you drugs, right? But they don't correlate it to the pain in your shoulder, or they don't correlate it to, your shitty posture. That's another thing. Not a lot of medical practitioners or trainers or doctors or therapists actually communicate to each other, which also drives me nuts, which is why I study so much. I try and be everything.
Well, because everybody thinks they're holding on to secrets. You know what I mean? But like there's the internet. There's no secrets. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah. But it's just very frustrating because then the client wastes time by saying, I've seen that guy. He said, there's nothing I can do. So I'm going to check this guy out. Or the doctor will say, I've done all I can. Go and book in with him. And again, I don't know what it's like in the States, but over here, sometimes it takes forever to see a doctor and get the go ahead to see a physiotherapist. Or in America, they call it a physical therapist, right? And then the physical therapist say, well, you need to get a scan. That's another month down the line. Oh, actually, you need a minor operation, which is maybe 3 months, possibly to the following year, by which time the client died, or he's gone so past being helped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it really does, Scotty. It really breaks my fucking heart when sometimes you see people and think, if he just did that, or if he was just given that small, piece of information, he wouldn't be where he is now.
Why do you think all these health experts kind of draw this line and go, this is what we're going to give the people. We're not going to give them any more, any less. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that, like you were talking about the lady before at the conference, like she's just given a baseline of shit and not trying to go above that and not trying. So why do you think we do that as a health community?
You know what? I think, because the educational system is so messed up. I think it's really, really poor. So I'll give you an example as to how I actually got into my business, right? So I was a personal trainer. I became qualified in 98 or 1999. I can't remember which. And I did the best course at the time, right? And it was about 4 months long, which isn't long. And at the end of it, I kid you not, Scotty, I came out thinking, geez, what a fucking load of shit. I should have just bought Flex magazine or, I don't know, Muscle and Fitness or whatever. It's all the same shit. This is a bicep. That's how you make it big. That's a shoulder. These are the exercises for the shoulder. And I was like, I didn't know what to do, right? And prior to that, I tried studying sports science degree. And again, that was so non-applicable to life. I thought, no one wants to learn this. You can't apply it to life. The only thing that comes out of it is for you to go back into lecturing. There's nothing practical about it. But anyway, so I started at this 5-star facility as a personal trainer. And I remember I started getting a lot of clients, and I'll never forget this, right? So my first client was a famous hairdresser, right? He was a celebrity hairdresser. He used to cut Kate Moss's hair, Naomi Campbell's, all these TV stars, right? And he came to me and he said, look, Claude, I'm going on holiday in about 3 months' time, something like that. I want to get, leaner. I want to be fit and stuff, but just be careful. Yeah, just be careful. He said something
Never
like,
heard that before.
yeah, right. I know. But he said, I've got some spinal pathologies that we got to be aware of and this and that. And I was like, I don't have no fucking clue what you're talking about, but let's go anyway. And I did what we did, in the gym. Yeah, let's do this, let's do that. Okay, this will get you ripped and let's do more crunches. And then the next day, Scotty, he messaged me saying, I don't know what you've done, but I've canceled my 2 weeks of work. I'm bedridden. And I was like, shit, man, this guy paid me, 20 sessions up front and I fucked him already on the first session. And then I remember the second session, or the second client I got with this elderly lady, and she said, just be careful because I got torticollis of the neck or this and that. And I was like, okay, I don't understand that either, but what do you want to do? And she said, oh, I just want to get fit. So I did the same thing. Next day, same thing, Scotty. I can't move my head. And I started fucking ruining clients and thinking, I might as well just be a bank robber because I'm just robbing people for money, right? I'm not helping them. And that's when I thought, right, I got to do something about this. I got to be true to myself. So I started studying physical therapy. I started doing functional medicine. I started doing orthopedic testing, neurology, just everything. And the more I studied, the more I thought, holy shit, I don't know anything, but now I'm at a place where I'm comfortable and I'm confident with any type of client. And I can speak to any type of doctor or radiologist or spinal surgeon, orthopedic surgeon, whatever it is, on a level and understand it, right, to a degree that I can apply and make the client better. I mean, I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but what I'm saying is that I've been very fortunate to be invited to things like stem cell conferences out in India, right, to talk about health and cell transformation and stuff like that. And I was invited to like an orthopedic spinal clinic to talk about shoulders and the spine and stuff like this. That's why I'm so passionate about my work, because there's so much to learn and there's so many people out there who do look great, but they're not great on the inside and they're not very, they're not so educated. But I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying I wish people would think a little bit more laterally and think, if I'm really going to help this person, I want to apply and give the best knowledge I can. But I just think sometimes in this generation, we live in such a fickle world. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's such a facade. Everyone's so happy. Everyone's so rich. Everyone's, you know what I mean? There's no real sort of genuine stuff going on, I suppose.
Do you remember?
There is, but it's not so,
Do you remember earlier when we were talking about the trainers and how like they hold on to information and like, I'm not going to give you this program because it's like my program or whatever else it is. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume at some point your mind shifted. Maybe, I don't know if you ever had that mindset, but you shifted to, oh, let's share knowledge with everybody. Everybody share knowledge with me, that kind of thing, right? You had a mind shift. My question is that when your business like really took off, when you took off as a trainer, as a person, your business is when you were like, okay, I'm going to give information to everybody. I'm not holding on to anything.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, but also I've had so many trainers come to me and say, what have you studied? And then I'm like, why do you want to know that? And, and obviously they said, well, because you're fixing people that I could never think I would fix. And I used to say to them, I'd say, look, it's not about the ABC or the letters after your name or whatever. It's how you understand it and how you apply it. So for example, and then I give them like, something like, okay, this guy's got an ankle problem. So what do you look at? And they would always say, well, you look at the ankle, right, where it's swollen and stuff. And I said, no, that's the last thing you look at. you look at above the ankle and below the ankle. What if the guy's got like 3 toes, right?
Right.
Or he's got like half a hip or something? That will totally mess up the ankle. It's the sort of stuff like this. So that's when I started to sort of try and simplify things, because part of my assessment is if you got a neck issue, the first thing I look at is the feet and the toes and work all the way up. And the neck would be the last thing, right? And then obviously you go through all the lifestyle factors and what stresses are in your life right now. Have you got 5 kids? You divorced? What type of job do you have? Where a lot of trainers and therapists think it's totally irrelevant. You just look at the body. You shouldn't know about their bowels, or you shouldn't know about their sex life and this and that. But fuck, you have to, man. You got to know as much as you can.
Yeah, well, because you never know what's causing an issue.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
right. So like it's like checking boxes. You go, okay, well, it's probably not your ears, but let's just go ahead and check that off. Not your ears. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things, like if you're not doing your due diligence around that, you're not doing your clients any favors, right? I have this lady right now. She's experiencing like nerve pain, like in her forearm, right? So she went to a neck doctor and she went to a shoulder doctor, and they can't figure anything out, blah, blah, blah. But I noticed that when we were lifting, when her wrist would bend a certain way, she would get that pain. So I just told her, I go, like, just try this for me. Like, why don't you just wear like a wrist brace for the day, just for the day, just put it in place. So to see if maybe something you're doing about bending your wrist is causing pain. Right. And she basically told me, she goes, I couldn't wear it that long. And I was like, well, that means something. You know what I mean? The fact that you couldn't just put a wrist brace on, your wrist probably doesn't stay in a pretty good place, and then it wants to be somewhere else and it's fighting you for it. I mean, obviously probably like go get massaged, and like there's other stuff you don't want to put the brace on, but the brace tells us that like in a good neutral position, your hand doesn't like it, your wrist doesn't like it, right?
Yeah. Every exercise and every stretch is a test.
Right.
Everything you do is a test, yeah. Right. And it'll give you information. Yeah.
Okay, so just thoughts on this. Sometimes the symptom is not the problem, or a lot of times the symptom is really not the problem, right?
Yeah. It's a byproduct of something else.
Right. It's the symptom's just a symptom, right? But like when people have back pain, they go, oh, it's my back. You're like, could it be your hips? Could it possibly be your hips? Could it be your feet? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Could it be your T-spine? Like, but does it have to be? Right. Yeah. Do you sit too much? How do you sleep? What do you eat?
That's it. Right.
Right. Yeah. But I think, back to you said this way earlier, we gravitate towards, the fancy, flashy, like, hey, that guy's got 6-pack abs and he knows how to get them, so he can get them for me. And that's not necessarily true, because again, you're not that dude. Like, you're a totally different person than that guy. You don't know how that guy sleeps, what he eats, what he does. Like, I mean, are you willing to do all that stuff, or can your body even do that? Or do you even need what he needs?
Yeah, exactly.
There's
that's it, man.
Well, and like, I didn't think of this till now, but would you say that, like, okay, what's the longest client do you keep a roster of clients, or do you just see people regularly now, like at appointment based?
Well, I mean, so I don't do single consultations anymore.
Okay.
Right. I used to, because people will come to say, for example, it's back issue.
It doesn't work anyway.
It doesn't work, and they generally don't listen, because it takes, sometimes when something is chronic, it takes a bit of time to get back to health, right? So I do a minimum of 6 months, but my most common program that I give is 12 months. You work with me for a year. You pay everything up front. I send you 3 labs that are very important. One is food sensitivities. So, I mean, that's awesome. And then on top of that, if they can't fly out and see me, they either fly me out to see them, or if they have a house over here, they come, to London. They say, we're just like, when are you here? And then I'll orthopedically assess. We'll sit down, go through the lifestyle. So that takes normally around 2.5 hours, sometimes an hour, depends on how much information they want to give. And that's the basis of my work, really. So we do a lot of stuff online. And you were talking about right at the beginning about COVID and the lockdown and all that. That's when I changed my business model as well, because I used to do a lot of hands-on stuff, train people, mobilize soft tissue and all that. But because of that, obviously I couldn't. so I changed my whole work ethos, I suppose, to being online. And if the client is here, that's it. So I only work with, geez, off the top of my head, maybe 8 or 9 clients, maybe.
So I guess
Yeah.
what I was going to ask is, what's your longest tenured client that you've had? Like, and you can go back to your training days. Like, what was the longest one you had?
Well, okay. So back in, I mean, there are 2 clients, I think. One of them is 2002. I'm still working with him, but it's more of like sort of more or less consults with me because he's a big sort of business dude globally, so he travels a hell of a lot. He's stays in New York, he's in Dubai, he's here, he's all over the place. So he's just like, what do I do? Or I'm feeling like this and stuff like that. And then there's another client who's based over here, but I think we started around 2008, 2007, something like that.
So
Yeah,
obviously, you're not the same person when you started training them.
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And obviously, I bet if I had to guess, your training of them and like the fine tuning and all that stuff evolved as you trained them for a longer period of time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing I do, I suppose, I'm a little bit OCD like that. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. I don't know. But with every single client, even way back, I used to document everything, even though if I didn't think there was any correlation to what we were working on, right? So I don't know. He hates lettuce, or his foot's turned out, and he does this stretch and it doesn't, just whatever. So and so I accumulated all this information, and I used to either research it, or I used to do a course on that specific area. And if that didn't give me the answer, I'd do another course, and so on and so forth, right? Until I understood exactly why, oh, this was the reason, and that was the outcome, and this and that. So yeah, I mean, I'm always changing. I'm still evolving. I'm still thinking about my business model, how I can better things, and also how I can study a little bit more, sort of cram it in with my time.
I would also guess that, like, as you evolved as a trainer, some of your clients evolved with you.
Yeah.
Some of them left of their own will, and some
Yeah.
of them you fired because they didn't
Hmm.
fit where you are currently as a health practitioner.
Yeah, that's right. That's
And
right.
and so
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, in terms of like firing a client, yeah, that I generally haven't. I don't think I've fired any clients, but I can tell from the start. We'd sit down, we'd consult or whatever. I'd be like, look, this isn't going to work. I know a great guy in your area, or someone who's good for you. And then I'd sort of refer them on to that. And sometimes, some of the people that see me, Scotty, are really fucking rich and really sort of well known, but they've got this big ego. But, when anyone sits opposite me, I don't care if it's like President Biden or whoever it is, right? They all breathe, they all shit like us, they all go to the toilet like us. You know what I mean? So a body is just a body, and you're there to help them. But sometimes some of the people are like, well, my ego is too big. I'm not going to do this. Why should you tell me to do that? And it's very sort of weird. I found that a few times. Why would you come and see me?
Well, okay. Um, would it be fair to say when someone comes to see you, they
Mm-hmm.
need to show up for themselves, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And when those kind of people come to see you, they're showing up for you. It's like, I want to say it's a performance, but it's like, oh, I'm going to work with Claude, or I'm like, I got this badass guy or whatever. They're not showing up for themselves. So people that show up for themselves, you vibe with because they're bringing a very authentic vibe, whether it be they're really depressed or they're really hurt or whatever. But when someone brings that other vibe, your spidey sense goes off and goes, nah, like you're not here for the right reasons for me to do my best job, because I can't do my job if you're not here for you.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah. And this one time really sticks out in my mind. So I can't remember if I was referred. Do you know what a chiropractor is?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, sorry. Of course you do. Yeah. So apparently there's this very well-known chiropractor So I didn't mean to be rude. I thought
No,
maybe
hey, that's fair. We could go through a whole quiz of, do you know what this is? And do I know what that is? You know what I mean?
potato, potato, and all. Yeah. Um, so anyway, so this really well-known chiropractor in central London owned this big clinic and then been around for quite a while. And I remember him having a room that just opened up and it was spare. And I can't remember if he contacted me or if one of his therapists contacted me. However, they knew me, I don't know. And so I went down for an interview. And this guy, he was just so horrible, Scotty. He was like, okay, so Claude, what exactly do you do? And I told him what I did and how I worked and the type of client that I worked with. And then he just started, trying to tear me apart and say, well, all that holistic stuff's bullshit. And, food doesn't fix anything and this and that. And I was thinking to myself, what the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah.
Well, and B, I wouldn't even want to work here. It was just a very weird scenario. I mean, I almost thought he invited me in just to show off that he had these, big balls and he just wanted to sort of, rain on my parade. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. But I mean,
at the point I'm at in my life, if I had been in that meeting, I think I would have literally said, like, why did you invite me here? Because everything that I do, you don't agree with. So I am the wrong person for you. Now, if you want to get on, I mean, that's where I'm at in my life. You know what I mean? Because it's like, again, like, yes, you are paying for my time, but it's also my time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, if there's no amount of money that makes me want to spend it with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. 2-part question. One, just give me a quick list of things you hate to see in a gym.
Okay.
And then 2, give me a couple of things that trainers could do to really help their clients, even if in the end they're going to have to come see someone like you, like things that basic things a trainer could do to just better their clients. So maybe they don't have to come see you or come see you later.
Yeah, sure. I get it. Okay. First question, that's easy. Get rid of, I'd say about maybe 70% of all the machines.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so fucking weird because I mean, I remember presenting and I got a laugh from the whole audience and I wasn't expecting it because I was just in my own head, right? So I was saying, I think someone put their hand up and asked me the same sort of question. Well, a similar question saying, what do you think is the best piece of equipment in the gym? And I sort of changed it around. I said, well, the best thing you can do in the gym is get rid of all that metal, all the machines. And then I said, because when you think about it, when you sit in the machine, let's say a chest press, right? You put your weights and you sit there, you sit on the bench and you're just pushing the weights, right? So that's one plane of motion. That's not real life. You are not dictating the movement. The movement comes from the machine, the cams, the wheels, the cables, all that shit, right? And then I said the most complex movement is actually getting into the machine, then getting out, right?
Yeah.
So when do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you sit down, then when you get back out, is you got to pull one leg out, rotate your trunk, then you know what I mean, right? So there's that because we're decreasing performance in physiology, right? We're training our systems to be totally dumb and everything's up and down, forwards and backwards. And then when you think of no one wants to get injured, right? So you think of injury incidents. How do you do it? It's always through rotational forces, right? ACLs, ankles, back pain, or this and that. It's like, what the fuck? I really don't get it. It's crazy. So that's number one. I'd get rid of that. 70%. I mean, I'd say keep 20 or 30% because you do have people who have, motor skill issues like, I don't know, they've had neurological disorders or they've had chronic, diseases where they're shaking or whatever. And so they have no control over the central nervous system. So then it has to be relatively fixed for them to get some sort of strength, right? That's the only reason why I keep machines in. And then you were saying about what can the trainer do on a basic level to keep them away from seeing me or a rehab therapist or something like that. Easy. Start with body weight and do all the basic things that we do in life. Like, so for example, Scotty, what are you going to do when you get out of the chair? You're going to squat, right? when you go to the gym and you see some of these trainers saying, okay, what's your goal? And the woman will say, I want a big, juicy ass, right? Say, okay, let's go squat. And then they stick all this weight on them. They've never squatted in their life, and their knees are going everywhere. They're tipping that way, and their heads are this way, and the bar's in the incorrect position. It's like, I mean, that just shows she can't even get out of a chair properly, but yet you're loading the foundation, right? So things like that. So everything we do in life, so squatting or lunging or walking downstairs or even turning corners, for fuck's sake, when you go up a staircase, if it's around a corner, that's a complex movement if you haven't done that in the gym, right?
Yeah.
So, you're turning, you plant one foot and you rotate over the hip going up the stairs, or vice versa, right? What else? Like reaching for something in a shelf, even picking something off the floor. I mean, the amount of people I've seen, I'd say, hey, dude, so, why didn't you see me? Oh, I got a bad back. How did you hurt your back? Tying my shoelaces. What? Picking, I don't know, a sock off the floor or something, or reaching for the salt and the sugar in the cupboard or something. If we're getting injured in such a simplistic way, there's a foundational issue with everything that's going on in the exercise world.
Here's my new thing. Like when I talk to somebody, like, when someone finds out that part of what I do is training and exercise and stuff like that, they go like, well, where should I start? And this is my new answer. I go, get up and down off the floor for as many times as you possibly can, or 30 minutes, whichever one comes first, and just do that for a week. Just get down the floor, get back up. And if that gets too easy, then don't get off the floor the same way twice in a row. And just keep doing that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's like, I was talking to a client, and we were talking about how we wanted to shape. And I was like, what do you want to do long time? She likes to ride horses. And I was like, well,
okay,
how long do you want to do that? She goes, well, I want to do it forever. And I go, well, can you get it on the floor and get back up right now? And she was like, I don't know. And I go, well, if you fall off that horse, is it important that you get up fast?
yeah.
I would think so, right? So like you might want to just start with like getting up and down off the floor. And I think people, like you said, I work out in gyms, and over my 20 plus years of like training, I have seen not just like heavily loaded stuff, just crazy stuff, just stuff that I was just like, wow, I didn't even know people did things like that. You know what I mean? And I'm always, so I'm not shocked by much anymore, but there are times where I'm just kind of like, huh, there's something new that I just never thought. And there it is. You know what I mean? And I'm always miffed by how easy this is and how hard people make it. Going back to like just getting your blood tested, trying to get good sleep, drink plenty of water, try to eat good foods, and try to move around a little bit. That it's really all that. And like, that is just hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's it. We're just teaching basics ultimately.
Yeah.
People say
we're teaching below basics. Like, machines are below basic is movement. Machines are below that. You know what I mean? And like, I could argue, we could argue that, maybe a bodybuilder could benefit from machines, but also like if a bodybuilder's body isn't in proper postural tension, right? Like, front to back, he's going to look, his body's going to look poor. So like, it's important for him too,
Dude, you know what? Talking about bodybuilders, I had a bodybuilder come and see me, right? He consulted with me, and I said, well, when was this? This was back in 2005, I don't know, 5 or 6, something like that, mid 2000s. And he came to see me, this big dude, like muscles everywhere, super heavy and stuff. And I was like, well, why do you want to see me? And he said, well, I heard that you're like the core man and you know about the core. And I'm like, well, yeah, but what do you ultimately want? What is your goal? And he said, well, I heard that the core can make you stronger. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's a valid point. So we did the assessments and stuff. And then on the second day after consulting him, I said, okay, dude, I've got your program. Let's go to the gym. I'm going to show you what to do to make you intrinsically stronger, right? And so we did all these exercises. And the thing is, right, Scotty, if you come and see me, I'm not here to say, to give you exercises that you're really good at, right? I'm here to give you exercises that you're crap at, meaning that that's
Yeah.
your weak area, that's your weak zone, whatever, right? So that
Weakest link in the chain, right?
that's it, right? That's it. Yeah. So I did this with this guy, and within half an hour, he was sweating like crazy, and he was getting really angry, and he fired me. He fired me, man, and it made me laugh because he was like, "I can't fucking deal with this shit. This is bullshit." And I'm like, "But this is what you need to get stronger, to get to the next phase of your lifting or whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, I don't fucking enjoy it. Let's not work anymore together." I was like, "Okay, dude, that's fine."
Well, it's kind of like most people's core can't support their basic mass, like the mass that they would be comfortable carrying. And most people carry more mass. So, you're already building this mansion of a house on a shitty foundation,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
I'm gonna drink from my giant ass water jug real quick.
That's your bicep workout right there, man.
This thing is not light. And
Sure.
so like I had it sitting on the couch like this, right? And it flipped off the couch like straight down like this. And the jug is so heavy that it snapped this and sent it into the inside, and then water went like all over my floor.
No way.
And it was full.
Shit.
So unfortunate. This last segment is brought to you by HeyJustBe.com. I believe that achieving balance in the mental, physical, and metaphysical aspects of your purpose by incorporating learning, serving, and creating can transform your life into one that you truly enjoy living. Want to know more? Go to www.heyjustbe.com. All right, so usually how I wrap this thing up is I usually ask people, like, what do you do to take care of yourself so you can take care of everybody else? Put your mask on first type of stuff. So one, can I just say that me personal, my personal goal is to look like you when I'm your age.
Dude, man, come on.
I mean, but you're killing it. So obviously, like, you work out and you take care of your health and stuff like that. But maybe what are some of the other things that you do? Like, are you a big music guy? Do you like listen to music? Do you meditate? All that kind of jazz.
Yeah. So you know what? That's a really good question. So my wife is big into meditation, and I totally agree with that. But I think again, because of social conditioning, meditation to everyone is to sit, in a soundproof room or out in the woods in the middle of nowhere with no noise and just sit there and be self, right? That's totally fine, but that's not how I would meditate. My meditation is to sit in a room. Yes, it's got to be quiet, but to read a book that feeds my knowledge, that expands my mind, stuff like that. Or working out is how I meditate as well, because I know it might sound cheesy or kind of weird, but when you're working out, you're actually bettering your body, not in an egotistical way. I mean, all the things that visually come with it, yes, are great. But ultimately, I'd be pushing, thinking, I'll be there for my kids and stuff, and I never want to, get an injury where I can't lift anything, or if stupid things like if my wife has a heavy bag, I always want to be able to pick it up, throw it over my shoulder, or pick her up if she's hurt her ankle, something like that. So going to the gym, reading a good book, that's my type of meditation. What was the other question?
Well, so really quickly, so
yeah,
these are the two things that I want to see if these fall into your category of meditation. One of my favorite things to do is to foam roll to rap music. And like a lot of times that's like when I'm thinking, I'm just like thinking, and like the music's just kind of on the background, but like there's songs I know really well. So it's almost like there's no words. And then I'm just like processing stuff and thinking about how I want to show up for my workout and show up for my clients for the rest of the day. But then the other thing I've started doing, which I didn't think I would like it, and I'm really starting to like it, is I listen to classical music when I lift.
Yeah, cool.
And so
it's awesome.
I don't know. There's something about it of like, I get really into my head of like what I need to turn on, because there's no words, and and it's just kind of, It's like you're in an elevator, like there's background music, but it's feeding your brain, you know what I mean? And I'll kind of it just makes me think about, okay, this is what I want to be moving, this is what I not want to move. I don't know that I feel like that help. Oh, and then I do audiobooks in the sauna.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. So that's your focus.
Yeah, but that
You
but
know,
that
you
these are meditations, right? I mean, that what you would categorize?
that's what I mean. I mean, meditating is ultimately focusing on yourself, isn't it? And cleansing the body of any negative energy.
Yeah,
So if that feeds you or if that floats your boat, that's meditation ultimately, isn't it?
I think so.
Because yeah, I mean, so many people, I mean, clients have come to me and say, I've tried meditating, it's impossible. And I'm like, well, of course, because you're a type A personality, you've got this going on. Just telling you to shut everything out and be quiet and sit there is never, ever going to work, right? So it has to be very, bespoke, very individualized for each type of person. And like you said, I mean, if you told, I don't know, someone who does like yoga and all that, and the classical meditation, I suppose, that you lift and listen to classical music, they'll think like, fuck that Scotty guy, he's a fucking dick. He knows nothing about meditation, right?
Yeah.
But it's you and it feeds your soul, it feeds your body. So that ultimately, to me, that is meditation.
I mean, those are some of the times I come up with like, I don't want to say the best decisions, but like, say me and someone get in an argument and I'm
Mhm.
just processing my roles and responsibilities and what I want to say or do or how I want to approach it. A lot of times it happens in those kinds of moments, and there'll be I'll be listening to music, I'll be foam rolling, I'll be in the sauna. Sometimes I'll be listening to an audiobook in the sauna. I have to turn it off because my brain is there's so much being downloaded information from somewhere that I'm thinking so much. It's like, man, I got to just put on some music.
Yeah, sure.
And I just
Just like,
I don't think you want to ignore those times. I think we do a good job, or we're just too busy. One of the two.
yeah, yeah, that's right. But then we have to prioritize certain things, right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes, like you said, when people are too busy, they're generally quite negative because they're not doing the things for themselves. They're trying to juggle everything. Like people prioritize, I think, money too much, or other sort of superficial things as opposed to looking after themselves.
Well,
I think
oh, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, I mean, I think looking after yourself is really, really important. Then, like you said, I think earlier, you can look after others. If it's like one of my friends, he sent me something on Instagram. It's like a funny post about, and there was someone who is, not very healthy, but they're in a big political position, right? Talking about health. And he was like, well, what do you think of this? And I said, I was like, how long have you got? No, I didn't say that. But he was like, so I said, I do not agree with people who preach, right, stuff on health that have never actually experienced it themselves. It's like me walking into, like, I don't know, a lawyer's office and saying, no, that's wrong. This is how you do it and stuff like that. And just because I'm wearing a suit, you know what I mean? It just, I think you really have to live health, or you have to be injured and bring yourself back to health to understand real sort of living.
Well, it's like when someone has like a near death experience, they go, "Well, now I know what living's like." You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it's
that's right.
unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we have to have bad things to happen to make us realize how valuable our life is.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. Yeah.
Well, man, did you is this your favorite podcast ever that you've done? Did you enjoy this?
Freddie G, you're the man. Yeah,
Well,
absolutely. That
I,
was fun.
I appreciate you doing this. If you come to the States, you're more than welcome to come to my little garage, or maybe we can hook up in like California and like set up like a nice little, setup or something like that, and chit chat some more.
I do.
I mean, I could talk about the things I hate in the gym forever. So,
Yeah, me too.
well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
No worries, dude. Take it easy.